Perfect. All right, Jami, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. And I turned my camera off so I'm not distracted by myself. And I don't know that I see the controls to change the slides. So I don't know if anyone can help. Thank you. Thank you for that. So welcome everybody. I'm glad to see everyone. The rain has gotten to me here in Nashville. We went from snow and ice to thunderstorms, so it's a little bit of an adjustment, but I hope everyone is doing well. I want to start by thanking our sponsors. We could not do the work, the great work that is done in part without our sponsors, and we're especially excited to continue many of our long-standing relationships with our corporate partners in the new year that you see listed here. We'll be launching a new sponsorship model in the next month to encourage a broader engagement, and there will be special opportunities to support just the annual meeting, which we're very excited about. If you all have any recommendations on who we should reach out to, please send them our way. We're also really grateful for the grant support of IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, for 2 active grants, and the Mellon Foundation for a special planning grant opportunity that we're going to hear more about later from Joy. We could not achieve many of our strategic goals without this type of funding, so thank you. So the agenda today is a little bit different than what we have done in years past for these types of sessions. And we really want to focus on how you as members can engage with the many exciting projects that we have in store for this upcoming year. I'll welcome everybody and give a brief overview, which I've already done. And welcome. If you don't feel welcome, please welcome. And give everyone a brief overview of CoSA's strategic plan. And then I'm going to pass the presentation to Joy Banks for more details about community engagement, special projects, and our annual meeting. Lisa Johnston will close out our presentation with some administrative reminders. Speakers, I'm Jami Awalt, President of CoSA, Assistant State Archivist in the Tennessee State Library and Archives. We'll hear from Joy Banks, the CoSA Executive Director, and we've met Lisa Johnston, of course. We'll talk about upcoming meetings and events. So next slide, thank you. So as we're entering the 3rd year of the current strategic plan, we continue to focus our work on the core mission, which is providing leadership to strengthen and support state and territorial archives, leaders and staff in our work to preserve and provide access to government records. In the 2023 annual report, we worked to link all of our work to each of our value statements, which are relevant, inclusive, and collaborative. We hope that you'll continue to see these values reflected in all of the work that we do. Next slide, please. Looking ahead to 2024, we really have a big year in store. Our CoSA and CIRI education committees are busy at work planning another engaging year of learning. They've already set most of the content for the first year, and we'll be working to add those to the website so everyone can save the dates. We'll be talking specifically today about our in-person annual meeting in September. I've already mentioned it 3 times. We're very excited about it. We continue to engage in an active research agenda for our members. In the next few weeks, we'll be opening the next iteration of the Digital Preservation Capability Maturity Model, or DPCMM survey, as we close out our 3-year IMLS-funded backer project. We'll have plans to produce several best practices documents, including one summarizing the results from a recent social media survey. We're also starting a planning grant focused on the territories to help identify and articulate their specific support needs. More on how you can engage in several of these projects later. Our advocacy committees are thinking ahead to issues and priorities that are top of mind in 2024. Relying on the recent feedback from the State of the State Records Report, ongoing calls to members are being conducted by our board of directors. In an upcoming priorities ballot, your colleagues will see ways that we can amplify and impact to support your work. CoSA continues to seek a sustainable and excellent path forward for our community. We've instituted a number of operational procedures that make us more efficient and a more nimble organization. And we've also launched a new project generously funded by the Mellon Foundation to help us be better stewards of the rich data sets under our care, making them more accessible to our members and to all of our external partners. Next slide. So I'm going to pass it over to Joy Banks, Executive Director, to talk more about these exciting projects and about community engagement. Joy?
Thanks, Jamie. It really has been great these last few weeks to take a time to reflect on everything that we did in 2023 and all of the exciting things that we have moving forward into the future. So with community engagement, I wanted to first start with the celebration of a new hire for our organization. We are glad to share, for those of you who may not have heard, that we recently hired Becky Julesen as our part-time community coordinator. Becky is a longtime contractor of CoSA. I think her contracts go back to 2009. And most recently served as our IT coordinator. We jumped at the opportunity to retain her in this staff position. So in this new role, Becky will be serving the CoSA membership through engagement with committees and affinity groups, facilitation of our mission-aligned activities, and participation in some of our grant-funded projects. One of our concerns that we admit when we were shaping this community coordinator role was being able to find somebody who would know and understand our CoSA community. And truly, there is no better person than Becky. She knows you all so well, and I hope that you find a welcoming support with her on staff. That all being said, we are working to shape a new contractor role that will include portions of our technology support and some of the other tasks that Becky was responsible for, some that we recognized as gaps in our expertise right now, such as graphic design, so that we are really expanding our capacity for the work ahead. For the past several years, we have used this January webinar to really highlight the many ways to get involved with CoSA. As those of you who work with our member institutions. So this slide features all of those CoSA committees that are active right now, and a number of them are seeking volunteers. Our advocacy committee is in search of a co-chair as they start tackling our 2024 agenda. Catherine Newsom was in that position, and she's since been reassigned to another position within the Secretary of State office. We won't be issuing an ARM survey this year, but we are planning to convene this committee so that we can work on developing a plan for the survey's future. After feedback the last couple years, last maybe lots of years, there's been a recommendation that we continue this activity, but likely on a less frequent basis. If you have served in the past or you have opinions about CoSA's flagship archives and records management survey, we really do ask that you be in touch with us, and we're hoping to gather that group relatively soon. More on that later. If you are looking for sort of a fun, rewarding, short-term commitment and way to serve our community, you might consider joining our awards committee. Ken Williams, who's the immediate past president, will be chairing that work, and we're hoping to get that started in the next few months as we make sure that we're able to notify award winners well in advance of our annual meeting and celebrate their awards in September. Our development committee is in need of more volunteers to help refresh that work as we are looking to expand our corporate sponsorships, build an annual meeting corporate program, and look for more ways that we can diversify our revenue streams. So if you have a gifting or connections with that work, please let us know. Education and training is well on their way, as we mentioned, to filling our 2024 calendar, but they are always looking for new ideas, speakers, if you are interested in speaking or know of a speaker you'd like to recommend, and always individuals to join this fun and dynamic group. We are also seeking support of the IDEA Committee, which is still working to get its footing and looking for ways to introduce the tenets we've been investigating through our cultural competency work into CoSA and our community. And this year, as we especially focus our attention on accessibility, it would be a great way to engage with that work. And then finally, if you've ever had any interest in finances, or you would like to assist with our nominating process, which is focused on board of directors nominations, we also have a place for you. So pretty much any way you want to help, we can put you somewhere. And then the work continues with our series subcommittees. These are another set of really active volunteers who work more specifically in our electronics records realm. They're looking ahead to the future of records management and transitions that are happening in the field. So if you would like to serve on any of these between the CoSA and SERI groups, do feel free to reach out to me or just our general info email account. And we're glad to answer questions or just accept your raised hand to volunteer. I wanted to highlight some of the amazing work of our volunteers that's already on the calendar, and Lisa will come back to this again at the end of the session. Particularly February 13th, I invite you to join our consultants, Nick Canizzo and Veronica Martzel, who will be focusing on the digital preservation capability maturity model self-assessment. They will do a quick overview of some of the updates to simplify and clarify that survey mechanism. They strongly encourage you to bring any questions that you have and also your survey. So if you want to work on filling out your survey during the webinar, there will be time and space for that. Also, in February, we will be hosting a conversation on issues surrounding health records and government archives, which was a request that came out of our summer meeting to sort of continue a conversation that was held at our July meeting. And just as always, our events page is continuously updated as the details and speakers and dates for all of these are finalized. So we just hope that you check back frequently, register in advance, and get those on your calendar. Moving into some of our special projects for the year. So maybe you're not interested in a long-term commitment to CoSA or just want to dabble in something. I'm going to loop back to a few of the opportunities that you have to join us and contribute to CoSA and government archives in general. As I mentioned, we will be looking to gather a type of armed survey committee and really looking to review and assess the mechanisms and help us make a plan for the future so that we have a good frequency level, that the structure is right, and that we can continue this important data collecting activity in a much more sustainable way. One of the things that we know is that we were asking these questions every 2 years. It seems too frequent. Things just don't change that much in the work that you do. But it's important that we're keeping good metrics, that we're standardizing the way that we're collecting this data. So how can we do that and support your work in your institutions? I expect that this would be about a 1-year commitment, depending on the efficiency of the work. If you are interested in joining that or chairing it and leading the charge on that committee, do let us know. Also this year, the SERI leadership group has identified a timeline to start looking at a revision of the SERI strategic plan. It expires at the end of this year, but we want to make sure that we've set up goals and outcomes and a plan for the future one of the things that has revealed itself in the last couple of years as we talk about SERI as an initiative, I think that we're all in agreement that it's moved beyond initiative phase, but what is it now? So this would be a time that you can add to those thoughts, think about goals and outcomes, and stretch your muscles on strategic planning. And then finally, we are looking for a few more volunteers to join our 2024 annual meeting planning committee. The group will be convening for their first meeting next week on January 31st. If you can come to that or not, it doesn't affect your ability or willingness to volunteer. We will welcome you whether you're there for that or not. But we are looking especially for a few more folks, maybe representative of the Western states, so that we have a good geographic distribution and some input from institutions of different sizes. This is your chance to dream of the very best for CoSA and think through the meeting that you've always wanted to have. Maybe you've been to a professional meeting that you really enjoyed. You can help to really help us infuse this gathering and make it our own. We're no longer under restraints and limitations from meeting with another organization, and we can just apply all the lessons that we know and craft something truly unique to your group. This will be about a 9-month commitment. So from now until probably a little bit after the annual meeting. So we'll ask you to help us with some assessment activity as well. But if you are excited about CoSA, excited about in-person learning opportunities, maybe you're just excited about St. Louis, where we're going, and have some fun suggestions for restaurants or activities or repository visits, this is the space for you to help engage and shape that meeting. So now moving into some of our grant projects. The first one is this Mellon-funded data aggregation project. This one does not have a clever nickname for it like many of our other grants. So technically it's the State and Territorial Archive Data Aggregation Planning Grant, which does not spell anything. But it's an 18-month planning project. The Mellon Foundation has given us money to really dig in and investigate all of the data sets and information points and resources that CoSA has collected over the years, and how it is that we could organize, arrange, make accessible this information and have it better serve both internally, so our CoSA team, as we seek to build advocacy, but also externally for all of you and the general public who have an interest in understanding government archives in the United States. So we have engaged AVP as the project consultant for this work. They had a kickoff meeting with our core team this week, and we'll have a second planning meeting next week. For this project, we are specifically interested in engaging a set of folks who will be an advisory council and provide us with feedback along the way about the plans that AVP is coming up with, about how you use our data, about additional data sets that we might want to have our information crosswalk with, and thinking especially through the plan for the future, the roadmap that we'll have ahead, and how we would want to implement this at the end of the project. So we are expecting that we will likely apply for additional funding so that we can move into an implementation phase and think about the sustainability of our data management projects into the future. Next up is Backer, and for those of you who have been around for a while, this is probably a familiar project. This is a 36-month project that has a project end date of July 2024. So we've shifted into the final months of outcomes and are looking to close out this and make some recommendations to the IMLS about electronic records in government archives and how it is that we can continue this work into the future. So for this, as I mentioned, we will be releasing our next iteration of the Digital Preservation Capability Maturity Model, the DPCMM self-assessment tool. Messages will be sent to our primary contacts at each of our member institutions, probably next week this time, with instructions on how to access the survey mechanism and how to complete the survey. And we will have a support webinar on February 13th to walk you through the completion of that if you have any questions, and expect responses by mid-March. We are hopeful for a very strong response rate from this. IMLS is extremely interested in this data set and seeing how the work that we've done these last 3 years has maybe moved the needle on electronic capabilities in our government archives. Whether or not you filled out a survey 2 years ago or 10 years ago, it's important that you take the time to fill it out now. Our CIRI committees and project consultants have done a lot of work to simplify the language and hopefully make this survey super fast to just get a marker and help us mark this point in time to see where we are. It will really help, especially as CIRI moves into strategic planning, think about how we can address the concerns and position of our membership to continue support for electronic records maturity within our member institutions, which leads to direct assistance. Nick Canizzo has been providing one-on-one assistance through this program for the last 2 years. And at this point now, we're thinking ahead, what will this look like after the grant funds are gone? And the model that is beginning to develop is something more like a committee type model where we will have a group of trusted experts who can take on maybe one of our member institutions for a set period of time and walk through some of the instructional materials that Nick will be producing and publishing, implement some guidelines, do some assessment, provide some feedback. If that sounds interesting to you, and you would love to help share your expertise about electronic records management or any other part of this work, let us know. We'll probably be looking for some folks who could do some review and testing for us in this final phase so that we can report back to IMLS what we expect to do and that we've reviewed it a little bit before we look to implement it. And the final element of this project is the cultural competencies component, which has been led by Helen Wong-Smith. Her and Anna Ackerson have done quite a lot of work the last few months to update our webpage and landing page, to refresh the resources that we've provided. And they recently posted a brand new video to give sort of an overview of how to approach the management of cross-cultural differences within your institution. We've had quite a bit of engagement on this. So at this phase, we're looking to see how we can really integrate this work with the questions surrounding electronic records. And then Nick and Helen are both looking at developing some self-guided instructional modules and guidance documents that we can use after the grant is over. So again, we are looking for volunteers. If you were engaged in some of the cultural competencies training about 2 years ago, or are just interested in it now and want to offer some feedback on the curriculums that we're pulling together or anything like that, let us know, and we'd be glad to share that with you and get your feedback. So finally, but not leastly, for sure, lastly but not leastly, we have the AWARE project. So this is archives working across remote environments. This grant is also funded by the IMLS, and it's specifically in response to our members really articulating over and over again the importance of solid investment in our territories. And we looped in Hawaii and Alaska as potential peer partners for this project. So we have 7 engaged project participants in the AWARE project. We, through the end of the year, we went through a call for proposals for project consultants. We're in the final phases of getting those contracts executed and signed. And so we will look ahead to making our official announcement on our onboarding those folks probably next month. Becky has already set up a dedicated community space for these 7 project partners. And part of this is it's not just about building community among our territorial members, but also empowering them and encouraging them to reach out to the rest of the CoSA membership and really get to know all of you as colleagues, as supporters, as mentors, so that we can help lift up all of our members through this work. A big portion of this project will be our project consultants providing customized reports to each of the territorial partners. This will involve site visits to each of the locations. And then we've also included funding so that at least one representative from each of these participating partners will be able to travel to St. Louis in September, meet together as a territorial cohort, and then have the opportunity to also meet with the rest of their CoSA colleagues. We're really excited about that opportunity. Travel can so often be a constraint, and even when we have the opportunity to meet virtually, time zones are just all over the place. So this will be a time when, as a community, we can really come together and be with each other, make those connections and relationships that motivate you when you have a question or need some support. You feel confident in who you can call to get the help that you need. And with that, the last bit of information that I have will be about our 2024 annual meeting. I will pause here and remind you that if you have any questions, you can feel free to enter them into the chat box so that we can get to those at the end. As many of you know, we will be seeing you in St. Louis in September. We are so excited to be planning this exclusive CoSA event where we can take this time to really connect with each other and meet together and surround you with your peers so that you can work through the issues that are of greatest concern to you. We are having our planning committee kickoff on January 31st, which is next week. And at that point, we will really start digging into taking shape of the content, thinking through how we want to fill the program, and just any creative ideas that we have about how we can gather together. We anticipate that the shape and flow of this meeting will be much more similar to an unconference. So if you've ever been to BPE or even the Regional Southeastern Archives Group, SARC, and their meeting where they have sort of affinity group conversations, but it will be whatever the content dictates is what we can make it to be. working with our hotel, we have created sort of a general outline of events. So I've shared this with you so you can start to get a sense of when you might want to book your flights, what you might want to come for, and start to make the case to attend. We are strongly encouraging that you try your best to bring multiple staff people from each of your institutions so that you can bounce ideas off each other. You can, if we have events running at the same time, you would be able to have a representative in each room so you can get the full benefit of the conference. Do take note that this is a preliminary schedule, so it may change somewhat as we finalize our plans. But this gives you a good sense. We're anticipating that we'll dedicate Tuesday, September 17th to the territories and hosting a summit for them so they can gather before everybody else gets there. Then we will try to plan some sort of repository tour on Wednesday morning that will be optional. And then we expect that our sessions would start sort of post-lunch on that day with an opening reception on Wednesday night. Thursday will be a full day of meeting, and we have plans to make sure that you have breakfast and lunch and a reception on Thursday. And then Friday, we're anticipating that we would have programming through the mid to late afternoon. If you need to depart on Friday, we will try to do our best to schedule appropriately. There is a potential for a post-conference trip as well that may come at an additional cost. Those are the details that we're still working out. One thing that I would like to note at this point is that our board of directors has started to discuss the idea of separating out our annual business meeting from this in-person meeting and hosting that business meeting part virtually sometime over the summer. It's something that would allow us as much time as possible to be in a space of creativity and community while we're together in St. Louis, and also make our business meeting something that the broadest range of our membership can attend by hosting that virtually over the summer. So we'll keep everybody updated for sure. We will make sure we're following our bylaws, getting those notices out, and sharing that information in advance of the meeting. So we were really hoping to announce the hotel. I promise it's amazing. We have the contract is so close to being signed, but we do want to be thoughtful stewards of our agreements, and so look for that announcement soon. I will say that we have negotiated a nightly rate of $149 a night, which is within the GSA approved rate. The hotel has been super hospitable about that. We are looking forward to having full range of the hotel facilities. They're being very gracious with the spaces. It's in an amazing location close to so many restaurants and points of interest that should be a really dynamic place to meet. This will also include complimentary parking, which is really important when you're in a city, and there'll also be free Wi-Fi. So the board is really pleased with this. It's really a fun and quirky place, and we will announce that as soon as the ink dries on the contract. As we get information, we will be sure to update that conference information page. So if you have any questions, look to that space as we start to fill in details and get everything shared there. One thing that I didn't put on my slides, but is probably worth noting as we shift into the question and answer time, is about the way that travel reimbursements will work this year. So as many of you may be aware, CoSA underwent a dues restructuring this year. And with that, the board voted to shift the way that we can provide support for your travel to the annual meeting. So for those of you who work at an institution, who are in our highest dues level, there will be a set amount of travel stipend that will be sent. As long as you come to the meeting, that will be the amount that you get. For everyone else, we will have a pool of funds where we will be offering travel stipends at a certain rate. The board is working through, now that we have our dues responses, a budget amount that will help us stay within our budget requirements. And we are also working on the shape and form of how you will request those travel stipends. We want to make sure that you know if you have a travel stipend and can make plans accordingly. We are also working to supplement those general operating dollars with some additional support from our vendors. I'm pleased to say that Ancestry has committed their leadership scholarship funds that they commit as part of their sponsorship agreement to travel stipends for our annual meeting. We will have that announced very soon to show your how the process might be to apply for those funds. And we have at least one other sponsor who was interested in having their sponsorship funds dedicated to travel to support the annual meeting attendance. So more details on all that soon. We're really trying to help release as much support to help you travel to this meeting, and trying to make that process happen as quickly as possible so that you can get appropriate approval. And if you need to find additional funds to cover remaining costs, you can work that out with your institution. So I think that's all I have. And Jamie, I think you're going to join me again.
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Joy. That's a lot.
It's a lot. I talked for a long time, folks.
Well, but there's a lot going on, and particularly, excitement about the annual meeting. And as Joy said, I think that trying to get support for all of us to travel so that we can be together in person is really a different initiative. And so I know I'm appreciative of the work that you're doing there. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's open up for questions. And I'm looking at the chat here. Lisa said, if you have a question, you can type it in chat or raise your hand and she'll unmute you. So I'll just pause for a moment and see if anyone has any questions. Not seeing any hands raised. Hi, Veronica says, who do we contact if we want to get involved in any of the projects or committees?
Great question, Veronica. You can always reach out to me at jbanks@statearchivist.org, or you can reach out to just our general, we have an info@statearchivist.org box. That's where if you just send a contact us link through our website, it goes there.
Of course, don't forget the communities as well, where you can always post questions and concerns and statements and answers.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about those today. I know they covered those a bit at the Siri webinar a week or so ago. We're really looking for new ways that some of our community groups can expand, and making sure that we are trying to facilitate communication however y'all want to talk to each other, because I know sometimes it's not email, sometimes it's about setting up just regular meetings, or getting something on your calendar that causes you to pause to talk about something like coding, we have our archivists who code group that meets once a month.
And Joy, with that, I'll add that we also have chatting with CoSA,
Mhm.
which is for archive staff members. We meet every other month. So our next one will be February. It's the second Wednesday of the month. And I'll send a notice to the communities with the link and everything. But it's just an opportunity. A lot of times we'll have kind of a theme, but you're welcome to come in and we can talk about anything. If you have questions, a lot of times people have come in and ask questions about, what are you using for this? Or can I get some information about that? And it's been very informative. We learn all kinds of great things about you guys, and we hope you learn and make connections with archivists or state archive staffs, I should say, in other communities as well. So when you come to the annual meeting, you have a chance to say, hey, we've been communicating on Zoom or on Community, and now I get to see you face to face. So we hope you look forward to that. Sari has also started a chatting with Sari as well. So watch for those announcements, and we encourage people to participate in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all so many ways to get involved. One of the things I think we sort of like buried the headline a little bit at the beginning. We did just release, like hot off the presses, our 2023 annual report. So I'll share that link again in the chat. Thanks to Ann Ackerson, especially for having the vision for this report, really aligning it to our current strategic plan and our different vision statements, linking all the work that we did last year to the place we want to be. So I thought it was you all inspire me every day, so that's why I come to work. But I hope that it inspires you too, to see how much CoSA achieved over the last year to really help people focus on the importance of government archives. I did see Josh Hagar reminded us too about the second annual series Steer Unconference, which will be happening in May. And I have that on a slide, a couple slides from now, with the date. But yeah, that group is hard at work looking for volunteers to help moderate and be subject. We were avoiding subject experts because people can get intimidated by experts, but subject specialists maybe who can help to facilitate those conversations.
Great.
And sometimes you don't even have to be a subject expert, but sometimes just be willing to help keep the conversation going. I can guarantee you, in chatting with CoSA, I am not an archivist, and yet I'm the one that kind of keeps those conversations going. So I do a lot of listening to what everybody else is saying and try to pull from that. So sometimes it's just you're willing to be part of the group and help encourage people to talk.
An enthusiast.
Yes, definitely.
There we go.
Great. Jim has not a question, just a sincere thank you to the board of directors for waiving territorial dues during the AWARE project and for becoming more conscious of the needs of our remote locations. Really looking forward to its products and for its great experience.
Well, and we really appreciated having Jim be one of our state archives spotlights for Archives Month last year. And so if you didn't get to attend that live, I would recommend you go back and take a look at the YouTube video for that and see what they're doing in American Samoa. And then the other archive was Pennsylvania, and they were previewing their brand new archive. So it was a really great program.
Great. Looking forward to seeing you again, Jim.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Oh, great. Josh is not from a Western state, but if there's space, he'd be happy to be on the group planning. Do you live in Western North Carolina? Perhaps that would count.
Yes, well, I was glad you say that, Josh, because for sure it seems like there will be a trivia night at this year's CoSA annual meeting.
In fact, that came up, I believe, in a conversation earlier this week. So you
Yes.
must have been listening, Josh. Glad to have all of it. ESP. Well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, and again, use the communities to, if you need to keep the conversation going. Otherwise, Lisa, I think we'll turn it over to you for the wrap up end.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Joy. Basically, we're always looking for your feedback. And so we have a link to a feedback survey for the webinar. Joyce put it in chat. We hope you'll take a few minutes and give us some feedback on that. We're always interested in what you found useful, what you would like to see different. Do you have speaker ideas? I'm not sure what all the questions are in this particular one, but we welcome your feedback, and we want these webinars to be about you or what's useful to you. And these kinds of things help the education committee as they focus their work. So upcoming events, Joy mentioned a couple of them, but keep in mind that February 13th, you can come and learn about the digital preservation capability maturity model self-assessment. I think it's a really cool opportunity if you've been putting off filling it out. Bring your survey and at least get started during this webinar. You'll get so much farther if you can do that. 14th, we'll be chatting with CoSA. Since it's Valentine's Day, we haven't decided. We may have a love is in the air theme or something. I don't know. We haven't decided yet, but that'll be the 14th. February 22nd is going to be our monthly webinar, the issues related to health records and state archives. I can tell you that we have someone from the Arkansas, he provides the legal advice on HIPAA records in Arkansas, and he did some HIPAA boot camp for Arkansas. So he's going to give us a little bit of that. Plus, we're going to hear from Connecticut and from Arkansas, as well as what they're investigating and what's happening to them with these health kind of records. March 12th, of course, is going to be another chatting with Sari, and they're going to do Cloudy with a Chance of Records. Ooh, that sounds interesting. You guys have good titles. So stay tuned for that. Josh, I'm sure, can elaborate more on that. March, April, our member webinars, we're really excited. We're still working on the planning of this, but we want to do a two-part section on hiring. The first part we want to direct kind of at us. What should we be looking at? We're hoping maybe to get a couple of people from one of the iSchools to give us some help as far as how are they advising their students to apply for jobs, and are they even asking their students to look at government archives, so that we can kind of get a sense of what maybe we need to do to strengthen our pool of applicants. Part 2 in April, we're going to gear towards students and anyone that might be looking to get a job in our state archives. Kind of what's that process? What are some of the things you have to be concerned about? The process is different than in the private sector. So we're really excited about that. So watch for more details. And as always, go to the webinar section and you'll see, as we get them, we'll have them posted. So definitely go there. And if nothing else, the dates may be there. You can sign up so that you're reminded about that webinar, and the other details will be coming. As always, there's lots of ways to contact us with CoSA. So just remember, you can reach out in a lot of different ways. So do reach out. We're always here to help you and to provide you with assistance. And again, we could not do this without our sponsors. And so we thank them all. And we hope that if you deal with them or are thinking of dealing with them, if nothing else, just simply say, hey, we thank you for being a sponsor of CoSA. That goes a long way to let them know that you recognize that they're being involved with us.
That's the end.
Very good. And so thank you all. And Jami, Joy, any final comments, words?
No, other than thank you all and looking forward to the rest of this year
Yes.
of learning.
Well,
Have a
we
great
thank
day, everybody.
thank you for joining us, and watch for future announcements, and we hope we will see you at the next webinar or the next event. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.